Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another 30 Goals keynote presentation. Today we have Raquel Gonzaga, and she is going to inspire us by sharing with us some mobile device activities. Just to let you know a little about her, one reason we have her here today is because she suggested an app for the 30 Goals, which is a very popular one, which was Play with an App, and a lot of teachers had fun with that. But the reason she does this is because she's very passionate about enhancing the learning process and the class dynamics by making creative use of technology, especially mobile devices. She's an English teacher, an ed tech blogger. She also has experience in using technology to teach visually impaired students. She is a Google certified teacher from the first Google Teacher Academy in Brazil. And she has presented in lots and lots of different conferences all over. So I'm going to pass it over to her
Thank
to
you.
inspire you.
Thank you, Shelley. So I'm speaking from São Paulo, Brazil, and I'd like to thank you for attending. Well, the first part I'd like to share with you, it's in the second slide, uh, the importance and what inspired me to go deeper on working with mobile devices and the app Google Docs. Well, I realized that when we start teaching, there is the first thing we usually do, regardless of the level, is a brainstorming of the content. So students have to discuss a few questions and share some ideas. And during the brainstorming phase, there are some different steps that we naturally follow, such as the collaboration and discussion of ideas. Of course, it all depends on the level of the student. So a basic level student, for example, will have less to share than an advanced level one. So those things and the exchange of ideas, this integration with the colleagues, they are all very important. And what happens is, during the brainstorming phase, students tend to say a lot of things and teachers pick up on some of them, but a lot of what they say is lost, and so are some feedback moments that could be exploited. So I was thinking, online we have social networkings and so many tools, and then if we put this together for this collaboration, we can work and give students a chance to elaborate the language they have to express their ideas. Well, the tech resources that I mentioned, they are free. So you need to have a Google account and email, and then it automatically gives you the right to use the drive, and there is where you find the Google Docs. My inspiration came from an article. It was posted on the Business Insider. In this slide, there's a QR code that will take you there, and there is also a link. And two things called my attention. They were the fact that students can edit what they do on the go, and the part of collaboration. Because when we think of this particular article, they show teenagers, but we can certainly transfer those needs to the adults too. And then I thought, well, editing at the same time allows peer collaboration. And even students who have more difficulties can progress and learn from that. Also, editing on the go, that's the world we live nowadays. So those were very important things that kept me moving. I'd like to go with you through the other slides, just if you have never tried that before. So like I said, Google Docs is a Word document, so it's very simple to work. The first thing you have to do when you open the doc is to determine your audience, so people who you are going to share this document with. That's how we understand that the students are going to be able to access and interact with the document. As you can follow the yellow arrows, show you that you have to go a bit on a very small word, advanced, that grants you the real possibility to share. And once you click there, I advise you choose anyone with the link, and then can view, or in our case, can edit. That's very important if you want your students to write in the document at the same time. Once this is done, of course, you have to save the document, choose an easy name, so it's not a problem to find the document later on. Well, in my daily routine, I have students and they have their own mobile phones. So we don't have like individual laptops for the students. This is not my working environment. So this is one of the main reasons I chose to work with the mobile phones the students bring. And this is called like the BYOD, the bring your own device idea. So you use a device students are very familiar with. Very well. It is important in order to enable students to edit that on their mobile phones that they have the apps, the Drive and the Google Docs. The two major operational systems are Android and iOS for the Apple mobile phones. Okay, there is always the Windows, but at least here in Brazil, a smaller number of students use this. Well, when students download those apps, it's going to be a lot easier to handle the documents and so on. What happens is, when it comes to the iOS system, uh, and just to add something up, both apps are free for Android and iOS, and that's important to say. Well, for the iOS system, I have experienced that we have to go some steps further. So in case a student is able to open the document but not to edit it, what you should do is ask him, her, or you do it yourself, scroll down to the end of the screen, and then that's written computer. And as you can see in the photograph, when you click in computer, then that's going to be, they will direct you to another screen, and it's going to be written full web view. When you click there, the next steps probably ask the student to log in his email, his Google Gmail account, right? After doing that once or twice, it works, it's okay. Another thing I have learned is that when the students who use iOS download the Chrome browser instead of using the Safari, which is the regularly used one, it tends to work a lot better. Well, the concept, this is to establish so that at least a majority of students can access the document. And then, how can we share this with students? Well, if you have a Google Classroom environment in your school, or Edmodo, that's very quick to do, but anyways, not all people have this scenario. So I've got two suggestions for you when it comes to sharing. Yeah? One of the ideas is to transform the link into a QR code so students can scan that. If it's the first time you are using and you're not sure whether students have this QR code app reader or not, what I really think works and is wonderful is the Google URL shortener or any other URL shortener you get to know. So you click on the long link and then it is changed into a combination of letters and numbers. So students can very easily type on their browsers and they are there. Very well. Well, having said that, I would like you to watch a very short video from how it works in the classroom, okay? So you can have an idea of my daily routine, okay? Uh, As you can see, they have got different models of phones and different operational systems, and they are working together writing things on the phone. And this screen that appears right now is my screen, the bigger screen for the teacher, where you can see different students kind of feeding the document at the same time. This is only to illustrate how it works, because during their collaboration, this screen is not shown, right? But it's so interesting to see how it goes. Very well. Something important is to establish the working spaces. Otherwise, people start writing together, and then instead of collaborating, they start, complicating the lives of each other. So how can we establish those, what I say, working stations or working space? What we do is I create via tables. I can create the separate spaces, all right? And then usually if I have a task for each group, I create, let's say, suppose I have 3 groups. So I create 2 columns, 2 columns and 3 rows. In the first space, students are supposed to write their names. And in the second one, they are supposed to perform the task assigned by the teacher. What I realize is that the fact that they are supposed to write their names somehow helps in the sense of a commitment. Look, my name is there. There's something I have to do, and the teacher is going to check on that later. Yeah, so this is something great. Later on, they learn to personalize and many other things. And I'd like to show you right now their first drafts, because, too much information in the very beginning. Apps, how to open, how to edit, forming groups, who's going to type. I mean, in the very first 2 attempts, you feel it takes a while. But then, I'd like to show the very first document that I created with the students. And the thing is that as a teacher, that document is empty. The only thing you might add is like a title for the activity and the working space. And then when they open the document, you can see the names. This was a very, very simple task. We were talking about reality shows. This is an adult group of A2 students. And you can see it's very simple. It's important to say that the first drafts will be messy, but they just have to be done. It's so important. This is another document opening. Yeah, it's from a more advanced group. They have to watch a video on young offender and individually take notes. After sometimes they were grouped together, and they had to change those notes into a kind of a summary. Very interesting to observe that even though they were exposed to the same video for the same amount of time, the groups came up with different ways of explaining the story. So very often they don't have time to be copying from the friend. Yeah, that was another concern I used to have. There's another document there. And it's fascinating when they start typing and they realize, look, teacher, we can see that. It's beautiful. You give it a try, you're going to see how exciting it is. This was a C1 level group. They watched different videos, and they were supposed to share their notes as well. Well, I would like to go now to the next slide, where we can see the progress of those documents. So the documents I showed before, they were the first drafts. If you click on the other document on top, you can see that it is different in the sense students can somehow personalize it. It's funny because they learn very quickly how to color code a document and how to insert emoticons and so on. This is really cool. This is a document created by a C1 level group of teenagers. They were supposed to talk about causes for unemployment among young people. And the real challenge is that they were 14, 15 years old and they have no experience on that. So when I first put them together to brainstorm ideas, which you can see in the second volume of the document, they were like, okay, a few things here and there, but they couldn't really relate to that, and I was aware of that. So I decided to show them a video of an American student, recently graduated. She's like 22, and she shared her path, what she has been going through. And they had to take notes about that. And they were like, oh my God, how is it in another country so far away? And they took notes of very, very interesting things. If you go through the document, that's column 3, you realize there are lots of things they were able to get on their own. And we were using bullet points for the sense of having something quick. Finally, they read another article from the Huffington Post on unemployment among young people, and they came up with other ideas that sprang from reading that article. In the very end of this class, the best thing that happened, they realized, teacher, look, we've got a lot more information after having read and watched the video. And comparing to our first brainstorm, and I was so glad they could realize that on their own. So the final challenge, the final task was to write a composition and have this composition supported by different sources, such as, for instance, the BBC or the New York Times, for example. If you can open document number 7 in the sequence. Yeah. Yeah, we've got a document showing the production of adult learners. Ah, no, sorry, this is another production. It's the same theme from adult learners, okay? And let's see, because that's very interesting production of A2 level students. It's because we can insert pictures to the docs too. And this is so interesting. The only hint I give you is that when you want to insert a picture to a Google Doc, it's a lot easier if you do that from the desktop. From the mobile phone, I know that they are working on that and pretty soon it's going to be available. But in order to save time, if you can attach the picture from a desktop, you're going to save time and students can visualize that in their desktops very easily. Well, there is another video I'd like to share with you. Yeah, it's short and it shows students working with the mobile phones in a different moment. I think it's very important to see that those are simple videos that I just very quickly observed the students working and spontaneously and the production, and I just think it's a great model. For example, this student, he's swiping through the keyboard, so it's very interesting to see how they can feed a document. It's important that we as educators, we understand this generation is a lot faster. So anything you say, download this, use that, very often they already know how to do it. They just don't apply it for educational purposes. It's very refreshing too, because they can help each other, and this happens. This is collaboration too. You know? Here we can see they are kind of debating on what word to choose, and using a tablet and the style of typing. Okay, very well. I'd like to share with you a poll I conducted with those students. There was a huge number, I think over 80 students that answered this poll. And the poll is in Portuguese, but I'm going to share with you the themes, right? So the first thing I asked the students was regarding the operational system that they use. And I was very surprised because uh, over 50% were using iOS, which is more expensive in Brazil. And a very, very close number, followed by a very, very close number of almost 50% Android users. And a small percentage of students only with a Windows phone. I can tell you that with the Windows Phone, they can follow everything. They have a hard time editing. Another question I asked was regarding the use of shared docs, if they could access or not. And then we have here that over 60% of students using were able to access the shared docs and edit the document. There was a percentage of 23% that couldn't. But this tells us that even though a number of students were not able to edit, they could work in groups for collaboration. And finally, about the benefits of working with the Google Docs in the classroom. They like the fact of working groups and collaborating in real time. Well, I'd like to wrap up, having said everything, that going back with this slide to the collaboration opportunities, that we are in the 21st century, and then there are some other ways to do the same things with an extra kick of fun. And especially one thing pointed out by my students is the fact that even if they miss a class, they can recover what was brainstormed in that class or in a particular activity. And sometimes I had cases of students just getting to the document and say, "Hi, teacher, I'm here," meaning somewhere else, right? And I'd like to, as a last thing, yeah, to encourage you to use the mobile phone and have in mind that it does enhance the production of students regardless of the age. So teams can benefit from that, and I believe that phones that can enhance the students' production, the written production, the interaction among students. You can cater for students who needed to miss the class as well. Well, I'd like to thank you very much for watching. I'd like to thank my students who were amazing throughout the term, and the people who motivated me. If you want to read more about the goals, the links are available in the last slide. And a huge thank you to Shelley and Jake for the opportunity, for the other teachers also taking part in the third goals educational challenge. Thank you. Hugs from Brazil.